this tutorial, we're going to look at another big programming construct, iteration. Iteration is just a fancy word for repetition, and it's also known as looping. We can repeat one or more lines of code instead of writing them out multiple times. There are two main types of loops, a count-controlled loop and a condition-controlled loop. And in this tutorial, we're going to look at count-controlled loops. These are known as for loops. We use a count-controlled loop when we know exactly how many times we want the loop to run before it actually does. So let's look at a very simple example. I want to output the numbers 1 to 10, but I don't want to write 10 times console.write 1, console.write 2, or anything like that. I'm going to use a for loop instead, and I can do this in 3 lines of code. So I type inside submain for I is integer equals 1 to 10. When I press enter, the next keyword is added there for me to close off this loop. We can have the option of adding the loop counter I in this case after that, but it's not actually compulsory. So what have we done? Well, we've actually done 3 things. First of all, in a count-controlled for loop, we need a variable that's going to act as the loop counter. If we're setting up this loop to run X number of times, the program needs some way of tracking, well, where are we up to in that range? So that's the purpose of this variable there. And like any variable, it does need to be declared. Now we assign to that loop counter, I, which is short for iterator, a starting value over here, which is 1, and then the end value, which is 2. Now these are inclusive values. So the first time through this loop, the loop counter, I, will be 1. And the last time the loop is run, the loop counter, I, will contain the value 10. So what I want to do is go console.write line in this one, because I want my numbers 1 to 10 on separate lines. And I'm going to output I. In 3 lines, I've actually output 10 numbers, one after the other. I'll just add console.read key, so the window pauses for a moment, and then we'll run the program. And you can see there we have numbers 1 through 10 generated in the console window, yet we only actually wrote 3 lines of code in a for next loop.